Once upon a time, in a village beautifully spread under the warm sunlight, there lived an apple farmer renowned throughout the land. His name was Lucas, and he had dedicated his life to planting and caring for the lush apple trees in his orchard. Every harvest season, his apple trees bore abundant fruit, and he felt immense joy seeing the fruits of his labor so richly rewarded. One bright morning, as Lucas strolled through his orchard, something unusual caught his attention. On one of the largest and most fertile apple trees, there appeared to be an apple that had started to rot. The rotten apple was perched at the very top of the great tree. Lucas felt anxious and concerned. He knew all too well how easily one rotten apple could infect the others and ruin the entire harvest in an instant. "All my hard work and efforts could be destroyed," Lucas murmured to himself. He gazed at the rotten apple with worry as the sun slowly rose in the eastern horizon. Lucas tried various methods to address the problem. First, he thought to knock down the rotten apple with a long pole. He went back to his shed to fetch the pole. After a tiring effort swinging the pole several times, the rotten apple still did not fall. His attempt was in vain because the pole he had was not long enough to reach the rotten apple. The swinging of the pole even caused some good apples to fall from the tree. Since the pole did not yield satisfying results, Lucas tried using a slingshot to knock the rotten apple from its branch. He returned to his shed to get the slingshot, but even with all his efforts, the results were still unsatisfactory. Good apples were the ones that fell due to stray shots. "Since childhood, my shooting skills have always been poor," grumbled Lucas to himself. Lucas grew increasingly frustrated. He tried climbing the large apple tree and shook it with all his might, hoping the rotten apple would fall. However, because the rotten apple was positioned too high, and Lucas couldn't climb too high on the apple tree, his efforts did not yield the results he desired. Once again, his efforts only caused the good apples to fall and scatter on the ground. Instead of giving up, Lucas became even more obsessed with the rotten apple. He felt disturbed and annoyed by its presence and thought that he must find a more appropriate solution. In the end, he decided to cut the branch where the rotten apple was located. He thought this was the last solution that would end his problem. However, after Lucas returned to the apple tree with the tools to cut the branch, he paused for a moment. His gaze drifted around the orchard, and he realized that all this time he had been too focused on one rotten apple. In his efforts to solve the problem, he had forgotten to appreciate all the beauty and blessings he had. Lucas looked around, and his eyes were filled with the stunning sight of his orchard filled with fertile apple trees bearing fruit abundantly. He saw healthy apples shimmering under the sunlight, and he realized that he had neglected this beauty in his struggle against one rotten apple. Suddenly, Lucas felt ashamed of his actions. He gently placed the tool he was holding on the ground and smiled to himself. He realized that in life, we sometimes focus too much on the problems or weaknesses within ourselves, causing us to forget to appreciate all the good things around us. Lucas walked across his orchard with a sense of relief. He picked a good apple and tasted it. It was fresh and sweet, and Lucas felt grateful for all the hard work that had brought such great blessings. He decided not to worry too much about the rotten apple anymore. Instead, he would appreciate and be thankful for all the good apples bestowed upon him. From that day on, Lucas learned a valuable lesson about appreciation and perspective in life. He no longer let one rotten apple defeat all the good apples he had. He always remembered to be grateful for all his blessings and not get trapped in excessive anxiety. Look, my friends. Often, one badness or failure we experience makes us forget so many good things that have been bestowed upon us. Worse yet, sometimes we sacrifice some of the gifts given to us to overcome just one bad thing we face. Often, we feel excessive anxiety from the badness or failure we experience, preventing us from enjoying the goodness that has been bestowed upon us. Let us all learn not to focus too much on the failures or badness we experience so that we can always be happy and grateful for all the blessings that have been bestowed upon us. By shifting our focus to all the blessings given to us, the disappointment of a failure will not disturb our hearts too deeply. May we all become wiser individuals.